All right, so for ECA remediation, we also took a test over Dr. King's letter from Birmingham jail. These are the questions that were on it, and we're going to go through why these answers are better than other answers, etc. All right, question number 1. In paragraph 1, Dr. King says, quote, blah, 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 blah. Which of the following quotes supports this argument? Once again, here's an argument. What we're looking for out of these is which one was the evidence used in it. Okay, so we know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntary, given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. A just law is a man-made code? No. I hope the church as a whole will meet the challenge in this decisive hour? No. Paul Tillich has said that sin is separation. These are all in the essay, but only this one is near that quote, and this one is after that quote. So the correct answer is D. 9 times out of 10, where they give you an argument and they want evidence, the argument came first in the text, and then what followed it was the evidence that will be the correct answer. That's true 9 times out of 10. Number 2, for paragraph 2, Dr. King's main rhetorical device or appeals through the use of. Okay, that entire paragraph, if you read it, was all examples of the imagery and emotions of segregation. And it showed how, like, try to tell your little girl what it's like that they can't go to the fun land because it's for whites only. So now, logical and legal arguments was not the case. It was all emotions. Compare and contrast. It was not compare and contrast. Experiences the clergyman had. That answer doesn't make any sense. So you can eliminate it. Question number 3 then. The following sentences from the passage. Read it. There comes a time when the cup of endurance runs over and men are no longer willing to be plunged into an abyss of despair. My recommendation is that you read that sentence and everything around it to try to figure out how endurance is being used. Now, endurance means strength. Its textbook definition is strength. At this point, when the cup of endurance runs over, it's being used to talk about patience and strength. It doesn't mean peace, it doesn't mean weakness, it doesn't mean hatred. So number 3, endurance, by definition, is strength. In this case, the textbook definition matched up with how it was being used in the story. Number 4, from paragraph 2, the, quote, ominous clouds of inferiority can best be described as. Okay, it's not parallel structure. A parallel structure is when sentences are formed in similar patterns, okay? Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere is an example of a parallel structure because it's got repetition to it. So it's not parallel structure. A metaphor is a comparison of two unlike things. When I read this, clouds are being compared to the concept of inferiority. So B is the correct answer here. If it had said ominous clouds that are like inferiority, then we could have put simile, but it's not. And clearly this is not a logical appeal. It's based upon image. Logical appeals mean this is why you should do such and such a thing. They give reasons. So then takes us to number 5. Read the excerpt from paragraph 2 below. This is actually still paragraph 2 from the previous question, which asked how does he appeal to his audience and use images and emotions. Dr. King includes this in order to A, explain why King has bitterness toward all white people. Does Dr. King have bitterness toward all white people? No. So you can eliminate because that's factually incorrect right there. B, to show the painful effect of segregation on adults and women. That is yes. It's emotions. So this is tied to the same question that you've already answered about what kind of an appeal it was. C, to legally prove that segregation by law is wrong. There's nothing legal in this argument. There's no, well, the law states, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't say that. So you can eliminate C. D, to reinforce discrimination in segregation law. Reinforce? But reinforce means to, like, add more to and say, yes, we should have some more discrimination and racism. That wouldn't make any sense given the whole purpose of Dr. King writing the letter. So we get rid of that answer right there. So that brings us to number 6. Number 6, which of the following quotes is an example of parallel structure? So in this case, we are looking for repetitive patterns compared from one part of the sentence to the next, or one thing to another. So A, I hope the church as a whole will meet the challenge of this decisive hour, is not parallel structure because there's nothing that repeats. B, it rings in the ear of every Negro with piercing familiarity. There's no repetition, no pattern established. C, for years now I have heard the word wait. Once again, so by default, D is correct, but D is parallel for a couple reasons. Thus it is, I can urge men to obey the 1954 decision of the Supreme Court, for it is morally right. And I can urge them to disobey segregation ordinance, for they are morally wrong. So there is parallel structure from one sentence to the next, because they have similar patterns to them. Question number 7, then. In paragraph 3, Dr. King presents, it's not segregation an existential expression of man's tragic separation, his awful estrangement, his terrible sinfulness as evidence. What argument is it used to support? Well, if you know this is the evidence, now you're looking for which one of these is the argument that it is supporting. So this will usually be last, and then one of these will be in front of it. So I hope, sirs, you can understand our legitimate and unavoidable patience. Doesn't support it. This is difference made legal. No. Letter C. All segregation statutes are unjust because segregation distorts the soul and damages the personality. And that is actually the best answer right there. So this is the argument that the other part is supporting.
Please report to the Commons. Tiara Rice, you need to report to the Commons.
Okay, D, frankly, I've yet to engage in a direct action campaign that wasn't even related to it. Okay? Which now brings us to question number 8. Read the following excerpt from the paragraph. All right, in this case, forebears, if you want to know the etymology of the word, for means first. Bears, in this case, means to carry. So, to carry. So which of the following is the definition of the underlined word? The best answer is ancestors who were slaves, because he describes whoever labored in this country without wages. They made cotton king, which the only people that worked on cotton mills and stuff and in the fields were slaves. And they built their homes for their masters. Those key words would have told you that they had to have been referring to people that came before them, which were slaves. Number 9, then, Dr. King's main purpose of this letter is to fight discrimination in hiring practices. That's too narrow, so we can eliminate A. To prove that their protests against segregation are right and segregation is completely and morally wrong. B is the best answer. Don't always assume, though, that it's going to be the longest answer, but in this case, it's the one that matches up. To offend the clergyman. He wants the clergyman on his side. He's not trying to hurt their feelings or offend them. And then D, to inform the clergyman on the history of segregation, as if they don't already know and see it happening firsthand. So you can eliminate those as the answers. All right, those are all of the answers for the Dr. Martin Luther King letter from Birmingham jail test, and that's how you reason your way through them.